I remember all them times you would cry to me. And that shit hurt me, but I never showed that side of me. Because my last girl told me she would ride for me. I fell in love with her. And she lied to me. So that's the way it's gotta be. Because last night I fucked another nigga's property. You see, she called him on the phone and said she with her girls. I looked at her, shook my head. It's a slimy world. Mm. And I'm so brainwashed by my past woes. I found a good girl and I still treat her like a hoe. And the fact I treat her like a hoe turned her heart to snow so cold. That's how the cycle go. This generation losing hope. We got babies having babies, and every girl's a bad bitch. What happened to the ladies? They claiming I'm a dog. Well, can you blame me? Because home training ain't something I seen lately. No loyalty or royalty. Where's the queens, ladies? She just want a nigga in the limelight. Yeah, your pussy good, but what's your mind like? It ain't always about the sex, boo. Sometimes I just want somebody to vent to. I know she don't care, but shit, at least attempt to. You won't believe all the crazy things that I've been through. All the things that's on that mental. I can't love you, girl, but I pretend to. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't love you, girl. Why you gotta start, girl? Why you gotta start? Just because we hit don't mean I want your heart. I tell her, girl, I love her. No, yeah, yeah. Pootieville, man. Pootieville car freestyles got me through a lot. I can't lie. Yeah, because I related to that so much. Um, and now we are 21, and yeah, yeah, a lot of that's becoming a very real reality, right? In terms of especially that part. I'm gonna just highlight that part, and then that's gonna be basically the premise of the rest of what I'm gonna say, which is it's not always about the intimacy. Sometimes I just want somebody to vent to, and I know before he said that, he said she just wants the guy in the limelight. It's like, yeah, the cat's good. What's your mind like? Because it's not always about the intimacy. Sometimes I just want somebody to vent to. And I know that you don't care, but at least attempt to. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least, yeah, try to be a part of something that is, greater than just the simplistic nature of where we are at the moment. You know, when for me, 21, and I'm sure all my 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, up to 24 even sometimes, year olds will understand what I mean when I talk about, the type of girl, especially at your age, who are going to be um, down for what is to come in terms of the journey. And the younger you go, the more prevalent this is going to be. The closer to that round about 25 mark you are, um, the more you're going to be able to actually find people who seek the sort of stability that you can now provide. But when you are on the way and plotting the journey and creating the things that will become that stability, um, that is often referred to as the lonely chapter, because you are outgrowing the people that you may have come up with, and you're not yet big enough, consistent enough, developed enough to be a part of the grander circles that you are wanting to grow into. And so, in that phase in between is going to be, I've heard, the loneliest parts of your life. And yeah, and in my experience, I wouldn't disagree. Because try as you may, it's going to be very difficult to find people. If you find person, bro, you'd be very, very lucky. And I think we're blessed in the age of social media to be able to keep in touch with people that we find or we contact throughout our lives that are just meaningful to us. They're just genuine people that you truly relate to, you know. Um, and so yeah, you do develop a sort of how can I say, some sort of core of people that you just keep in touch with, not even consistently, but say once or twice a year you might have a conversation, or you might have, God willing, the opportunity to meet up even, or whatever the case, but yeah, in terms of finding core groups at this stage of the game, very, very difficult. And more specifically, finding a partner at this stage of the game, for me personally, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it may as well be. And that's not necessarily because of them the entire time. I mean, fine, we can have our nice little rhymes, or we've had now in the beginning of this video our nice little rhymes, talking about, what's wrong with society at large. And um, yeah, if everyone's a bad bitch, what happened to the ladies? What happened to the decent women? Or was it all an illusion to begin with? I have this conversation very often with people, especially guys my age, about like, hey, bro, growing up, we were given a certain image. Um, I read something the other day that we are men. Men are taught how to treat a woman, but not what to expect from her. Women are taught what to expect from a man, but not how to treat him. That I found that very interesting, because that's very, very true based on conversations that I've had with guys my age and like older, much older, and that's friends, that's cousins, that's, just people, men, in my life I've had conversations with, and it was that, man, it's actually so jarring. It's so um, shocking almost, the reality of how human women are, if that makes sense at all. Because me personally, I'll speak about myself now. Maybe I'm generalizing too much. Me personally, I grew up in a place where, in an era where, like, women are superheroes to me. Are superheroes to me. There are women in my life that are absolute super, who've done the impossible. You know what I'm saying? Like, quite consistently throughout my life. Yeah. And that kind of creates this dynamic, or this belief, true or false as it may be, that women are this incredible form of being that is without fault, that is pure, that is just different from, um, a man by nature. They're just a different thing entirely, that seeks all that is good in the world, and that brings together, because very often for me, I would say, it would be, that guiding light, that warmth, that, you know presence in your life, that makes you make the alterations in such a way that makes you understand more deeply emotionally. Because there were phases, actually, and stints in my life, and now that I'm talking about this, where I grew up in households with just women, you know like, they were genuinely like bulks in years of my life where I was growing up around only females. And so these are obviously going to be the people that I'm going to talk to, hear talk, seek advice, this, that, third. And so there's always been this grand, great, respect that is beyond just the, um, how can I say, intersexual relate dynamics that are going to be specifically geared towards some sort of a, um, relationship, right? That dynamic right there is something that, like I said, I grew up with. I've respected a lot, and because I've had that going into the relationships that are specifically geared towards developing some sort of, intimate relationship, or whatever you want to call it, those have been gone into with a sort of perspective that is, this which I'm forming a relationship with is a type of, or form of being, that is inherently considerate, that is inherently, divine in a sense, or inherently moved towards purity more so than has these animal, like, I had a very difficult time from a young age developing into, adolescence, coming to terms with the like the sexual nature of women, with lack of a better term, the just the sexual nature, in terms of they have urges, they have thoughts about these types of things. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, this was a very foreign concept to me because, again, you pedestalize, right? Um, and so the very interesting thing that has happened throughout my life is, which would probably be the opposite of what should happen for most people, or most men specifically, is I've sort of debunked certain beliefs that I had about women, which were positive beliefs that I'm like, I'm on. For example, we grew up understanding that no, women see, intimacy as something that is like sacred and this and that, and then you grow up and you see things, you hear things, and then you're like, oh no, man, that's just those women. That's not, listen, women are, come on, come on. And then the more you just go through stuff and you see genuinely good people behaving in ways, you know what I'm saying? You're like, oh man, but these are people. Like, these niggas are flawed. These niggas have vices, and their vices include sexual deviancy. Like this, you know. Um, so it has been very interesting balancing those two dynamics of, I'm growing, I, I'm growing from an adolescent. I've grown into manhood, and into manhood is not, oh, I'm now a man, it is complete. It is, no, I've now begun the journey of manhood. Now I'm coming along the journey of manhood. And as I'm coming along this journey, I'm just seeing and noticing these certain things. For example, what I'm talking about today, which is, okay, as a man, you do go into this phase from about where I'm at now to where I'm going, where you do kind of need to put your head down and not fuck this up. It's very easy to fuck it up. I say all the time, moving militant, because it really don't take that much to lose. It takes a lot less to lose than most people think, right? So you have to kind of move militant, and you have to be unbalanced. You have to sacrifices your, whatever the case, and just make sure that you're developing exactly what you want to develop within those few years. And in that, there becomes a sacrificial vessel that you become, that is for certain things, but is unable to execute on them, or has to sacrifice certain things in the moment in order to be able to create things that will benefit um, those people you would be enjoying within that moment in the long term. And so you kind of have to live in both today and 10 years from now, all at the same time, you know. And the crazy thing is, the better you are at living in 5 years from now, the better you'll tend to do 5 years from now. But then that's obviously, by nature, uh, counterintuitive, or by nature you tend to miss out on life almost, because you are living in the day after tomorrow, and so today you're not truly present. And so a dichotomy to be managed, not a problem to be solved. Those two things will always exist: wanting to be here today and wanting to create, build for tomorrow. But right now, in this phase, you'll find yourself living for tomorrow. You'll find yourself doing for tomorrow, putting in for tomorrow. And you find yourself prioritizing those things over the things that are happening now, more often than not, hopefully. Um, and if you're not, then I think very quickly life shows you the consequences or repercussions of living that way. And if that's okay with you and that's the life you choose, then so be it. But if it's not, then you need to make the adjustments. And so finding partnerhood within that, very, very difficult dynamic. And then on top of that, the deeper you delve into, that which is them, then you realize that, wow, okay, so they're actually just like us. They actually also spin plates. They also weigh their options. They'll also be talking to X amount of people, trying to find the best suitor, trying to, and it's not necessarily that there is an incorrect nature to what it is that they're doing inherently because they're a different gender. But what you'll find is that because of those prior beliefs, those more traditional beliefs, perhaps that I am speaking of seeing them with a certain light and purity, then immediately there's a pullback that you get even from the idea of them operating and moving in any sort of similar fashion to us, in any sort of active fashion, because they are the passive, right? The feminine nature is typically associated with a sort of passive nature, typically, right? However, what you'll find is within that passive nature, there is an active form of filtration of, okay, who's real, who's not, who's doing this, who's doing that. And there are missteps within that. And beyond the missteps, there are decisions that are made without a fear of consequence, and then the consequences come after, and so on and so forth. And so, I last video we talked about the complexity of the human mind and its effect, and now we're talking more so about the different natures and complexities of not only growing as an ambitious young man, and the challenges that you will face within that, but then how that has an effect on these uh, people that you run into and try to incorporate in that while in that time. And then we begin to talk about the dynamics of that and debunking certain theories and myths when it comes to how you deal with these people. And then all this is happening all at the same time with a bunch of other things that you may have going on in your life. And so just food for thought, man. Just something that I've been, gnawing on, chewing on in the back of my head, that don't really get to have that conversation that often, don't really get to express those things. And so perhaps in the next time that I have that conversation with a group of men, then I'll be able to articulate myself better, because I've had an opportunity now to think through, those certain things and how I feel about certain things, and refresh certain memories, like the fact that I did grow up with them. So that does give me a certain, um, how can I say, skill, ability to be able to um, communicate with women, to be able to, form dealings with women, to kind of have a deeper understanding of their nature. But and yet with that, you also get the revelation of the other side that you weren't going to bump into when you were a little kid, looking up at the the heroes in your life that were um the women in your life at the time. And so that very interesting dynamic right there, of having that, idolizing that, and then the skills that you gain from that being the reason why you can actually break down and see the differences between that and the ideal that you'd put in your mind, and trying to hold people to that standard, and how unrealistic that may be, and why it is so difficult to actually get that companionship from that stage to that stage, in terms of that one person that you're going to be riding with. And if it's not that one person, then statistics say that you're better off just focusing on yourself, and then from that 25 mark onward, is when you rock and roll. But again, we've talked about the flawed nature, the urges, the desires, the mistakes that are going to be made, and you combine those human things with time, and then by the time you're 25, what's the dating pool going to look like? What are you going to have left? And how are you going to want to approach and interact with the dating pool now that your market value has increased? You still have these golden standards in the back of your head, but you're also facing the reality of what actually is, and the discrepancy between those two have driven many men crazy, I'm sure. And so what can one do on the journey in order to alleviate, or rather, um, decrease the differences, in order to uh, I'm thinking of words not coming to me, but in order to no longer have a discrepancy between thought and reality. In order to make those two things one, what can a man do, and how can a man make peace, come to terms with um, that that as a reality, that time that you're going to be spending, what is out there now, what is going to be out there by the time your market value is increased, say tenfold. um, and how do you take those things into consideration without then ending up as the as rich and sad, um, as the the uncle with no kids, no kids, no wives. It's just a bunch of money and happiness, and the boys. Then the boys go home to their wives and their families because they've made the compromises that you what they've made what you feel are compromises that you weren't willing to make. And so um, yeah, very interesting dynamic. Just food for thought. But I'm gonna let you go now. I don't want to make this video too long. If you did make it this far, you are an absolute legend. I appreciate you. If you did enjoy the video, please hit that subscribe button. I've been Sage, standing on business. Signing on.